JPMorgan has set a new record, just not the good kind of new record. Investor Beat starts now. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Hill. Last night, the U.S. Senate voted to confirm Janet Yellen as the next head of the Federal Reserve. Today, the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 are all up slightly. Are the two related? I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. Joining me in studio today, Tim Hanson, Matt Koppenheffer. It could go either way. Who knows?
It always can.
Let's get to our top story. Earnings season gets its unofficial start on Thursday when Alcoa reports its latest results. A Barron survey of Wall Street analysts shows a lot of optimism this year with predictions of double-digit growth in profits. I think we'd all be happy with that. It sounds good, but I'm not going to ask you to make a prediction on profit revenue, anything across the board. But I am curious, what are you watching as we kick off earnings season 2014?
I am going to be very interested in what companies writ large have to say about guidance, where they expect things to go in 2014. Predictions are one thing made by pundits when they have no accountability. Companies that set revenue and profit and free cash flow targets, they do have accountability to shareholders by the end of the year. And if they set optimistic forecasts, I think that will say one thing. And if they set pessimistic forecast, obviously that will say another. Is it safe to assume that
you would prefer the companies you're looking at, the companies you're a shareholder of, you'd prefer conservative guidance?
I would prefer accurate guidance. It's like, it's just because I'm not saying set a number or set a range. Just even. Because there's a school of thought that says don't give guidance because then you're going to do whatever you can to hit it, right? Even if it's just saying, you know what, we're excited about X, we're going to be challenged by Y, or our strategic initiatives this year are going to be 1, 2, and 3. That's a more holistic view of guidance. But when I'm looking at companies, I don't really care how they give guidance as long as it's sort of honest, transparent, and meaningful.
What are you going to be watching? We saw a report in the Wall Street Journal today basically saying the big banks are probably going to have a so-so quarter.
Hogwash. No, I'm going to be watching mostly, obviously I'll be watching banks. That's mostly what I end up watching. But more broadly speaking, I'll be doing the same thing Tim is and looking at guidance, but a specific piece of guidance, CapEx guidance. So how much are companies going to be spending? One of the things that won't help the economy recover is companies not spending money on share buybacks or keeping cash stashed on balance sheets. One of the things that can help the economy continue to recover is building new factories, hiring new workers, doing R&D to come up with new products.
All right, let's get to some of the day's movers and shakers. Wynn Resorts hitting an all-time high in the wake of a bullish report on Macau gaming stocks. We've talked about this before. Everybody in America, I guess, looks at Vegas. Macau is so much more meaningful.
I think it's 7-1 now, as Macau is now 7 times bigger than Vegas on a revenue standpoint. And yeah, this report out today from Nomura that basically said we can't see another tourist market or market in the world with the same growth potential as Macau when you combine gambling, food and beverage, accommodation, tourism. They just say it's going to be a monster. It's a juggernaut. It is. They've got a bunch more resorts coming online in the next couple of years by Wynn, Melco, a few others, and it looks good.
Netflix falling after a Morgan Stanley analyst downgraded the stock, warning of increased competition as one of the risks for shares going forward. I'm not saying they don't have challenges in competition, but it does seem like they are in the pole position.
Oh, I had no idea that there's competition for Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
This has been the story for years now, pretty much, right? I don't know. I'm not necessarily going to question that the Morgan Stanley analyst doesn't know what he's talking about, but when you look forward, it's not about Netflix or Amazon Prime or HBO Go. It's that you go to Netflix because you want to get your Orange is the New Black or House of Cards. You go to Amazon Prime. If they can get some traction with their development, they'll have a different set of things. You go to HBO Go for the specific programs that they have. So I think looking forward in the on-demand streaming living room, you have a lot of different choices. It's not just Netflix or something else. On the valuation side of Netflix, one of the things from this Wall Street Journal article covering the downgrade, I really like this. A bearish analyst from Albert Fried dropped coverage of Netflix recently, saying, "For me, the shares are a waste of time and my mistake for covering Netflix."
He just threw up his hands.
Valuation a little interesting, we'll say, but the business, I think, is still doing really well.
Shares of Zambeef Products have risen more than 30% in the past 3 days after the company was named Tip of the Week by Investors Chronicle Magazine. Zambeef is one of the largest agribusinesses in Zambia. Not exactly a household name.
Not a household name. I'd be surprised if anyone has heard of it. But yeah, it's incredible.
This is one you cover, though.
Yeah. We've disclosed ownership position in our funds, which was great. Well, I'll say this: it's great to have something go up 30% in 2 days, and it's not so great when you didn't get to buy enough of it before it did. Zambeef is low volume, and it's just crazy. I just think this is funny because it's just one of those stories where it's a low volume stock. It gets featured in a newspaper, and the thing just goes crazy. It's like, come on, people use limit orders. Like these rational people do irrational things, I guess.
And finally, JPMorgan will pay more than $2 billion in fines for its failure to detect and report fraud in the Bernie Madoff scandal. It is the largest penalty ever for a violation of the Bank Secrecy Act. So, another trophy, I guess, for JPMorgan.
Absolutely. I just gotta say first, Zambeef just sounds delicious. That just sounds like a
great
delicious
name,
product.
isn't it?
Great branding.
Less delicious, this latest fine on JPMorgan. We knew this was coming. JPMorgan basically knew it was coming. They've already got reserved for this. These kind of headlines are going to continue to pressure the stock right now, but they continue to be payouts and settlements for stuff that happened 5, 6, 7 years ago. The question is, have they changed their ways? And when we're looking back 5 years from now, will they be paying out these kind of things? I don't think so. So I think today's prices are still unnecessarily low for the stocks.
All right, that's going to do it for today's action. And give me a stock I can put on my watch list.
Fast Retailing is reporting numbers coming up. This is a Japanese retailer that owns the Uniqlo concept, which Americans may be seeing popping up more and more in their local shopping malls. It's already huge in Japan. And what's interesting about Fast Retailing is that they report their Japanese sales data every month, but you don't get to see how they're doing in the United States or China or some other emerging markets until their quarterly results. And that's what's going to be coming out later this week, and it's a nice data point to see, hey, how's consumer sentiment in China, how's consumer sentiment in the Philippines, Indonesia, and if the U.S. operations are going well, that's another feather in their cap, so to speak.
All right, Matt, what about you?
I said I'd be looking ahead to the banks in earnings season. A week from today, Wells Fargo will report 70 million customers at Wells Fargo. They have a customer in 1 of 3 of every American household. So if you want a good, solid, broad read on the health of the American banking industry, Wells Fargo, not a bad place to look.
All right, for Matt Koppenheffer and Tim Hanson, I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.